Alrighty, y'all, with JJK 263 leaks tonight, I got a few more questions and theories from you guys that we need to cover before we find out what happened. So let's get into it, but spoilers beware. All right, first up, we got this one from Lee who says, wild take. Gege making this latest chapter 262.5 and not 263 was done for a reason. Considering Gege left us at such a climax in Yuta versus Sukuna, we are either going to see Yuta lose to Sukuna the same way Gojo lost in chapter 236, since 263 is just, the same numbers jumbled around a little bit, or Gojo gets revived to briefly help Yuta, as many are speculating. And I like this because Gege does play with numbers a lot. He does certain things on certain chapter numbers, so I wouldn't be surprised if he did have something cheeky in mind for specifically 263, since those are, again, the same numbers of the chapter that Gojo got bisected in. Now, I still think that primarily the whole 262 part 2 thing was because he got sick and chapter 262 was only 7 pages, so this was the rest of it. But I am with you as far as, why not just call 262.5 263 anyway? And it could be because he wanted to do something like this. So we'll have to see. I like the idea. And actually, on the subject of Gege doing things very intentionally with specific chapter numbers and repeating certain beats in the story, this is a recurring thing in JJK, and a lot of people have talked about it, how it has this cyclical nature. Well, I've got this question from James that says, I keep seeing people talk about the chiastic storytelling for JJK, which is this cyclical storytelling. And he says, I think there's an interesting connection between Sukuna's poetic speech and the use of that type of cyclical story structure. Is this coincidental? And I actually had him follow up on what specifically he meant by Sukuna's poetic speech, so let's take a look at that. And here y'all can pause to read fully what James says here, but he basically talks about this very poetic way that Sukuna speaks, and perhaps is that very intentional and kind of a mirror to the story structure itself, with James saying that Sukuna often talks in a way that he presents an idea, kind of expands on it, and then circles back to the idea. And this is something that is largely only going to be accurately conveyed in the original Japanese, and I believe I've talked about this a little bit, probably when I was hounded on John Weary for his translation. But Sukuna in the English version doesn't get done justice like most of the time, because he really does speak in a very specific way. Again, a very poetic, more ancient form of Japanese. And I'm speaking, not as an expert on this, so take what I say with a grain of salt, but he really does speak in a very elegant way. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was an intentional kind of pillar of Gege's storytelling, but I can't really comment on it too much because, again, I think this would really come through in the original Japanese. So if we have any Japanese speakers or at least readers out there that could speak or comment on this, please let us know down below. But I love the insight. And finally, we got this theory from Joseph, and y'all know the drill. Pause to read the whole thing if you'd like, but it centers around a Gojo return theory, and specifically about how Gojo could return after these 5 minutes pass up with Yuta occupying his body. When Kenjaku's technique runs out, Gojo may have the ability to return. And this is a possibility I've talked about a little bit over the past few weeks in different theories and question videos, so I'm with you as far as that being a theoretical avenue for Gojo's return. But I will push back a little bit on a couple of things you mentioned here. First, we don't know exactly how Kenjaku's technique works. You do mention that it kind of imprisons the vessel's soul. I don't know about that. Obviously, Geto did choke him, and there was something still in there, but based on the conversation that Kenjaku and Mahito had in that moment, where Mahito's worldview was based around the soul, Kenjaku combated that by saying, well, my worldview is based upon the body, which I occupy. So I think the implication there is that the original soul, in this case Geto's soul, is no longer in the body. However, some form of him still remains, obviously, since he choked him. And not to get too philosophical here, but we don't really know what happens to the soul in JJK when somebody passes away. Does it leave the body? Does, who knows, right? But obviously there is some mind-body connection that is still misunderstood in this universe, or rather not fully understood, hence why Geto was able to choke. Some element of him is still in there. All that to say is that we don't know that Gojo's soul is still in that body. It may no longer be there, but there's obviously something of him still in there. And then also with the Toji example, Toji's soul is not what overpowered the grandson in Shibuya. In fact, specifically, the grandma in her seance technique did not summon Toji's soul. She only summoned his body so that they would not have to fight Toji. But lo and behold, Toji is so built different due to his heavenly restriction that his body alone was able to overpower the grandson's soul. So something like that could happen here. Like if Gojo does not have his soul anymore and it doesn't return, when Yuta goes away, then whatever is in Gojo could still like have enough agency to do something very similar to Toji in Shibuya. So I'm getting very, very yappy here. And ultimately, I do agree with you that this is a possibility, but we still don't know how some of these things work. So it's really hard to say with certainty, like what of Gojo is still in there. Is any part of his actual soul still there? Like, these are some of the big philosophical questions that I think Gege has been wanting us to ask. And then to address the second thing you say here, which you do go a little bit off the rails, self-admittedly, but I'm here for it. I love a good theory. You talk about Yuji potentially being able to absorb souls. And if he absorbs Yuta, could he get help from Rika? And I do see this being a little bit less likely, but you know what? Let's see what happens. I'm actually going to sneak one more in here from Taurus, who asks, with JJK ending soon, what new manga do you like? And in case you guys didn't hear the news out this morning, it has apparently been confirmed that this Shinjuku Showdown arc of JJK will be its final arc. So definitely bittersweet news. I put out a video on it if you want more context about where this came from, but it was a Q&A with Gege. And, that being said, we are ending this year probably sooner than later, but I do think we've got a little bit to go. So I don't think we're ending, in the next 5 chapters or anything. We still got this fight to play out, assuming the merger stuff to play out, and then hopefully, a chapter or 2 of epilogue, but we'll see. But in any case, what new manga am I interested in now that, JJK is entering its final hour? Well, before I tell you, I got to say one more thing. I got to give a special shout out to one of you guys, specifically NerdCraft Creations, who sent me this today. It is my very own inverted spear of heaven that is hand painted, and I have been playing with this thing all day. So Cole, thank you so much, man. You're an absolute legend. And this isn't a brand, not a sponsor, not an ad deal, nothing like this. I just wanted to show my appreciation by shouting him out because this is so cool. And I think Cole is kind of like launching his own Etsy store. So I don't know like what all is off the ground yet. If you can get your own, if you're interested, not sure. I know that will eventually be possible. So I'm going to link his stuff down in below. You guys should check it out. And Cole, again, thank you so much, man. And on that note, y'all, as hard as it is to believe, your boy is human and I like getting cool stuff. So if you got cool stuff you want to send me, I've got a P.O. box now. And do people still do P.O. box opening videos? Because that could be fun. Anyways, you got cool stuff you want to send me, hit me up. But I digress. Back to Taurus's question here. What new manga do I like? So this is the opposite of a new manga, but my main manga focus right now is One Piece. I am trying to catch up because I want to cover One Piece very similarly to how I cover JJK, and I will do that when I'm caught up. But I am covering it already in the form of arc reviews as I progress through the story. So where my One Piece fans at? I need y'all to come into the fold. I'm loving it so far. But that is my primary manga when I get the time. I'm reading One Piece. Also, Kagurabachi, Sakamoto Days, those are like the next 2 on the list that I'm really looking forward to. I have started Kagurabachi back when it first like premiered, but I haven't kept up with it in months. So I need to go back and catch up on that. Like I said, Sakamoto Days, and then Dandadan I really want to get into before the anime comes out, or at least get started on it. So those are the main 4 kind of on my radar right now, but I would love to hear what you guys are reading. Anyways, y'all, that's all I got for this one. I will see you guys tonight for leaks, and thank you so much for watching.